Hey everyone, welcome to the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Administrator Bootcamp, Day 3. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I am Jyotsna Bitra and I lead the Salesforce Marketers Group in Phoenix. I am joined by Shibu and Naji today. This bootcamp is intended for anyone who wants to learn the ins and outs of the Marketing Cloud Administrator and also for anyone who wants to clear the Marketing Cloud Administrator certification or retake the exam. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This session is being recorded and a copy of the presentation and the link to the webinar will be emailed to all the registrants, including the ones who missed out the session. Be sure to register for all the sessions. The follow-up email will go out 24 hours after each session. If you are on the Slack channel, please check the resources channel for all the links. The duration of each session is going to be 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the content. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to type them in the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. We will try to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. If you have any unanswered questions, please reach out to us on our Slack channel. And also please find the homework and the resources channel on the Slack channel where you can access the homeworks and all the other resources shared. We would like to hear your comments and feedback on Twitter. Please post them using the hashtag MCAdmin0to-hero and @PHXB2C user group. Just a recap of what we have discussed so far. On the day 2 of our bootcamp, we're glad to have Vlad go over some of the Marketing Cloud products and also demo each of them. A Marketing Cloud administrator should have knowledge of various Marketing Cloud products and features that are currently available. You can expect a lot of questions on all these products and their configuration. In our last session, we learned about Social Studio, Advertising Studio, Mobile Studio, Audience Studio, Web Studio, and Interaction Studio. In one of our upcoming sessions, we have Elliot Harper to go over some of the extension products, which are Einstein, Datorama, Google Analytics, and so on. Today, we have Shibu to talk all about the subscriber data management. It covers about the contact model, the profile and the preference centers, the data quality, attribute groups, and so on. This section takes up 18% of the overall weightage, and you can expect around 11 questions on this. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Shibu.
Thanks, JB. Can you share? Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, I won't be able to come on video because of the bandwidth, so please excuse. So let me go ahead, share my screen. Okay, screen of monitor 2. Please let me know once you can see my slide.
We're good, Shibu. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. Thank you for that intro, JB. So as you mentioned, I'm Shibu Abraham. I'm based out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I've been working with Salesforce projects for about 10 plus years now. I started with Marketing Cloud last year, and I've been a huge fan ever since. I also lead the B2C marketers group here in Malaysia. And whenever I get some time, I do some blogging. As you can see, my blog post, the link there, and my YouTube channel. Try to put some videos out for our community members. Okay. So today we're going to look at subscriber data management. As JB mentioned, these are some of the topics that we will cover the next 45 to 60 minutes. And data management covers these 3 topics broadly. It's about 18%, which is the second most important topic after setup. Okay, so we looked at the contact model, we'll look at the attribute groups, we'll look at a bit of data extensions, data quality, and the preference and profile centers. Okay, so we'll start with the contact model, right? So first and foremost, in Marketing Cloud, your data model revolves around your customer or the contact. Okay. So contact is a person that you would be sending marketing communications to. Now you may come across this term subscriber. Okay, so a subscriber is someone who has opted in to receive your communication through a particular channel, like either email, SMS, or a mobile push, right? So basically what it means, you can actually have people's information stored in Marketing Cloud for the intent of marketing to them. So that is a contact, and a subscriber is actually a contact, okay? But they have actually opted in to receive communication through a specific channel. So you need to know the difference between these two. And the term subscriber is more broadly used when we look at email marketing. In Email Studio, you will always, when you go into Email Studio, which you will see later, you will see the term, most of the time they call it as subscriber. Okay, but broadly, everything and every individual that you market to from Marketing Cloud is known as a contact. Okay, and that last sentence is quite important. All subscribers are contacts, but not all contacts are subscribers. So you can have contacts in Marketing Cloud who may not be subscribed to a particular channel. You can still store their information. Okay. Now, how do we identify a contact in Marketing Cloud? So we have something called contact key, which is used to uniquely identify a contact in Marketing Cloud, and it's a user-defined ID. Okay, so as you can see, like those are some of the examples. Okay, sometimes you can have contacts who are subscribed through email, sometimes through SMS or a mobile app. So in each case, if we create a different contact key, then we'll end up with 3 records for each contact, right? So 1 for each of those channels. So to avoid this, it's always recommended you have a single common contact key across all the different channels that you have, right? And Marketing Cloud also has another unique identifier. It's a number that they assign for each contact. Okay, and for the contact key is user defined, whereas the contact ID is actually defined by Marketing Cloud. So if I have a particular contact that is across email, SMS, mobile push, etc., across the different channels, I will have the same contact key for that person, and then behind the scenes, that same contact will have the same contact ID as well. Okay, for our processing or any of the things that you actually do within Marketing Cloud, you will always use the contact key, and you shouldn't be using the contact ID. That is only for the backend processing. Okay, and when you come to Email Studio, note that the contact key is the subscriber key, right? So they're used interchangeably, but outside Email Studio, we will always refer to that primary identifier for a contact as a contact key. So when you go through documentation or videos or blogs, you might come across these 2 terms, and you probably get confused. The first time I was like very confused. I was like, okay, what is subscriber key and what is contact key? It's nothing. It's the same, just that in the context of Email Studio, that unique identifier called the contact key is called subscriber key. That's it. Okay. So here, like you can see, there's something called channel identifiers, right? So you can have contacts like added or opting in through 1 or more channels, such as email, SMS, or push. Now, each of these channels, the system needs to have an identifier to communicate out. Okay, that is called the channel identifier. For Email Studio, it's your email address. For Mobile Connect, it's your mobile number. And for Mobile Push, it's the device ID, right? So as you can see in this example, I have a contact, Jeff, with 1 single unique contact key across all the 3 channels, right? But for each of the different channels, you will see that he has a different identifier. So if he's subscribed to email, like he will use email address, he'll have to provide the email address, right? Using which we can actually, send emails out to Jeff. If he's subscribed to SMS, then he'll have to provide a mobile number, right? If he's subscribed to push notifications, if he's got an app, then he has to provide a device ID. So these are the different identifiers that we will use from Marketing Cloud to send communications to Jeff. And you will identify that this particular contact, Jeff, through this unique contact key, Jeff Davis 1234, across all the 3 channels. Just ignore there's a typo here. It actually should be 8, okay? And finally, this where you actually get to see this, right? It's actually an app in Marketing Cloud, which I'll show you shortly. It's Contact Builder is the app in SFMC where you get to see and manage contacts. You'll see a section called All Contacts where you can see all the contacts and their related channel. But do note that not all contacts stored in SFMC may be visible in all contacts, right? You can add contacts to each of the respective channels like email, mobile connect, or mobile push, and then they get added to the all contacts list. But anytime you send a communication to a contact from Marketing Cloud, they will get added to the all contacts list as well if they're not already there. Okay. All right. So let me. By the way, I've actually given a link to an important blog, or sorry, it's an article from Salesforce. Please do go through this when you get the slides. It's about how do you define contacts for Contact Builder, and what's the count, and how do they get added to that all contacts list. Okay. So before we go into data extensions, let me go here. Can you all see my screen in Marketing Cloud? You should be able to see the all contacts in Contact Builder. Can someone confirm?
We can see, Shibu.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. So in Contact Builder, you will see like the All Contacts tab here. And as you can see from the left side, you can actually choose. If I click on All Contacts right now, it shows me like I have 1,400, close to 1,500 contacts over here. I can go by channel. I can go and see like how many are in my email, how many are in Mobile Connect, in Mobile Push, and Group Connect. So these are the various channels that you can actually search on and get it, right? And if I want to see all the contacts, I can click on all contacts and I should be able to see it. I can even look at by source. Okay, and then you will see that each record is actually a contact, and you will see the unique contact key. You will see that if they're subscribed through an email address, if it's actually specified through a mobile number, or if they subscribed on a device ID, which is for push notification, or if it's like Line or Facebook Messengers, you will get an OTT name, right? Uh, there is currently an issue that's open. Ideally, you're supposed to see if I click on Mobile Connect, I should be seeing the mobile number as well and the mobile icon. So Salesforce has opened a ticket and they're actually fixing that out. So otherwise, you should be able to see these mobile numbers as well. So ideally, you would be able to see all the different channel identifiers for a unique contact key in all contacts when you go to that specific contact. So that tells you like, okay, this particular contact has subscribe to Marketing Cloud through these different channels. Okay, so if I go back to here, let me try and search uh, for a couple of subscribers. Okay, so I have two contacts here, subscriber 1 and subscriber 2 that I created. So if I click on this, it drills down into that contact information, right? It will show you the engagement data here, like if you have actually sent any emails or any communication out to this person in these last in this period, you can customize that. Okay. And then at the top, you will see the different channels. Like if I click on email, it will show me like if it's subscribed to email, you will see that he has an email address here. Okay. If he is mobile, then you will see like, okay, all the three are there. Like you will have a mobile connect, meaning an SMS. So if there's a mobile number, that means I've subscribed to SMS. Device ID shows false, which means I'm not subscribed to push notification. And line actually shows blank, so I'm not using Group Connect as well. Okay. So I'm only subscribed to both email and SMS based on this. So if I go to attributes, this is where I can see the properties or like, for this particular contact and see like, what's actually stored. So remember I was telling you the contact key is something you specify. It's a user defined value, right? So I specify this as MSKA subscriber 001, right? I can give any unique key over here, but behind the scenes, Marketing Cloud assigns this number. It's unique behind. I cannot change it. I cannot, say I want this particular number. Marketing Cloud does that behind the scenes. Okay. And then if I go to email data, you will see this is the attributes that that is actually tracked in email. So if I go to Email Studio and I actually look for this particular subscriber, I will be able to see this profile information about that person, right? And you will see like, there's no Group Connect data, but then there is no push data as well. It's all blank, but there is Mobile Connect. So this is the SMS data. So that's why the mobile number was added. So which means this person is actually subscribed to both SMS as well as to email, right? Let me show you another example. The second one that I have, this person's only subscribed to email, okay? And when I go to mobile, it's all blank, right? So if I go to attributes, you will see that, this person, once it loads, you will see the email data is there, but then see the Mobile Connect data is blank, right? So once, if I add this person to Mobile Connect, then his information will show up over here as well, right? So if I go to, this is Email Studio, by the way, okay? So if I go and I search for the subscriber key in Email Studio and under all subscribers, so similar to all contacts, in Email Studio, there's a section called all subscribers, okay? So it actually shows you all the contacts who are subscribed to email communications, right? Um, and then, like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that all contacts will be there in all subscribers, but all these subscribers that you see here will be there in the all contacts list. Okay, so I searched for this MCA subscriber 002, and it actually showed up this particular record. If I go and double click, I will be able to see the properties of this person. I can go see the attributes. So you will see all this information, which is what we actually saw in that all contacts attributes details as well. Okay. All right, so let me go back here. Yeah, that's all I had on the all contacts. Let's go back to data extensions now. Okay, so data extensions basically is it's how the data is stored in Marketing Cloud. Okay, we have data structures called data extensions, and they're basically database tables. Similar to if you have used SQL Server or Oracle tables, yeah, this will be very familiar for you. Okay, we can store contact and their related data in data extensions, and we have different ways of creating data extensions. Okay, you can either create it as a new from scratch, from an existing DE, like let's say you have already created a data extension, you want to use the same fields and data structure, you can use that, or from a template. Okay, so there's specific data extension templates that Marketing Cloud has given us, like a send log or a triggered data send data extension, etc. Right? And they have predefined fields already, which they need to be there in the DE, and then you can add additional fields to it. Okay, I'll show you that in the demo shortly. And then most of the time, you would actually be creating the standard DE, okay, and as you see here. And there's two other ways that you can actually create it. It's called random or filtered, and that's more for segmentation, okay? And it's basically, let's say you have a data extension already, like, with a bunch of contact records or some records, and you want to, like, filter that out based on some criteria, or randomly you want to take a small segment of it, right? So you can actually create that as well, okay? Now, when you create a data extension, you can also specify it's a sendable or a non-sendable one. Sendable DE, it means like it has a contact record, one or more contact records that you can send a communication to through one of the channels, right? And you can store related information about a contact on the non-sendable DE. What it means, like you can have like sometimes purchase data or order history. So some of this data is actually not the actual customer or contact demographic information, right? So you probably want to, like, use that for personalizing your emails, right? But you want to bring that into Marketing Cloud. So you can store that in a non-sendable data extension. Okay, so these are the basic field types when you create a DE. I've provided a link for you to refer to on these data types, so please do go check that. And pay careful attention to what each data type is used for, at least from an exam standpoint, like what the default length is, where you can change the length, which fields are like, where you can use default values, etc. Right? And for your reference, for those of you who do not have access to the tool, I've actually given a screenshot as well to show you all the different data types that we can configure. And you can see here, like, I've used the text, email address, phone, Boolean, decimal, number, date, and locale. Okay, you will see here, like, you can choose primary key. You can specify, like, you can have one or more primary keys, and so it can be composite for that particular data extension. And required, like if you want to say, like, okay, this is a required field. By default, a primary key will always be required. And if not, if you want to have an additional fields that are required, meaning it's mandated that that data should be entered when you create the data extension or data extension records. And the ones that you don't need, like, you can have it as nullable. You can leave that blank, right? You can specify default values. Sometimes, like, as best practice, like, for first name, if it's like, nullable, we kind of put a default value as customer. Why? Because, like, if when you send out emails, you might be personalizing it as dear first name, okay, or hello first name. And what if, like, your data is blank in that first name field? So it should default to something. Otherwise, like, your email will come as hello blank or dear blank, right? So you can actually say customer. You can put the default value as customer here. So that's pretty useful. Okay. You can even default like Boolean values, or if you want to, like, default the current system date, you can put that as well. Now you can notice that some of these are grayed out, which means you cannot change the length for those. They're like specified length. I believe text and decimal is where you can actually change the length. So in decimal, please note that it actually tells you the total number of digits and how many are the decimal places within that. Okay. Um, there's one thing that you need to know about email addresses. So in a sendable data extension, like, your most probably is for your email communication. If you're using an email address field, you have to use only one field that is actually having a data type as email address. What happens is, like, if you have more than one field with the type email address, Marketing Cloud will behave inconsistently, and you cannot predict which email will the email be sent to. You cannot say it'll always going to be the first field, right? So if I have a business email or I have a personal email, two fields on there, and you want the emails to go to the business email always, there's no way for you to specify that. And Marketing Cloud may send it to the business at one time, next time it might send it to your personal ID, right? So if you ever want to have multiple email addresses, use the text option data type for those. And for the one that you want the email to go out, use the email address data type for that. Okay. The other thing that you need to know from an admin perspective, make sure the length, the total record size for each record in a data extension should not exceed 4,000 characters. So if you have like 40 fields with 100 characters length each, that's 4,000 characters, right? I shouldn't be adding any more fields. Preferably try not to bring in too many fields in a single data extension. Always break it down into multiple data extensions. Keep only the relevant data that you want in each data extension. Okay. And at the bottom here, you will see this something called send relationship. This is nothing but if it's a sendable data extension, Marketing Cloud needs to know like, okay, what is the unique contact key here? Like, which ID field you're using so that I can identify what is the customer contact key, right? In this particular case, customer ID is the one that actually maps back, and it always refer to it as subscriber key. So it's the same as the contact key. So you just choose which field out of these. So it gives me these options. I can either choose the text or what's this one? The number fields as one of the unique ID for the subscriber key. Okay, so in this particular case, if it's a customer ID, I will just choose customer ID as the subscriber key, right? I've given a link for data extension error messages. This is a little useful. So as an admin, it's good to know what are the issues that that you may come across when you create data extensions. So please do go through that as well. Okay, retention policy. As part of data quality, this is something that's important, right? One primary thing, you need to know, if you're new to Marketing Cloud or if you've been using Marketing Cloud for a while, it's not meant to be a data warehouse. Okay, so what it means is don't try to bring in all the data that you want into Marketing Cloud just so that you can. Right? Data extensions are very, very powerful. It's very flexible. So you'll suddenly get the urge to bring in all the data. Yeah, let it be there. I can use it for marketing. No, only bring in very relevant data. There is actually limits to based on what you purchased, the number of contacts. There's a limit, and you pay for it, right? So bring in only the contacts that you really need and the related information. And once you're done with that data, you need to get rid of it. Like for instance, let's say you're bringing in data for a campaign in October. Okay. Once you're done with that, then in November, December, you might want to get rid of it, right? So the retroactively, if you want to if you want to get rid of the data that's already you're putting into a data extension, you can use the retention policy. Okay. Now there's three ways you can actually manage retention policy, right? One is through the individual records, or the other two options are using the all records and data extension or all records. Okay. So what individual records means is for let's say you have 100 records that I added in today into the data extension, right? And I'm saying after 30 days, I can delete those records. I don't need them. I'm only going to be using them for the next 1 or 2 weeks, right? And then what happens is I can click on individual records, and then I can specify after 30 days, go ahead and delete it, right? But let's say I added another 100 records tomorrow. So what happens to those records? They will still be there on the 30th day from today. But on the 31st day, they will hit the 30-day counter, and they will get deleted, and so on. So each record on an individual level, it has a counter for how many days they are retained within the data extension. So if you want to do it by individual records, use the counter, you can use this one. Sometimes it's okay, I have a bunch of records that I brought into a data extension, and I will be using them for a month, and after that I don't need any of them, right? In that case, I will use the all records or all records and data extension. For example, like I was saying, if you have a campaign in September, okay, so I'm bringing in thousands of data, contact records. I'm using it in this month of September, and I'm saying in October I want to delete it. So 45 days from now, I can choose all records, go ahead and delete it. Now, if I put this reset period on import, what it actually means is the counter resets. So between this 45 days, if I get a re-import of some data is actually being imported into the data extension and gets updated, then the counter resets again. So from that particular day, again, the 45 days, it will kick off, right? It won't go from the day that I actually first put the data in, right? So anytime the import happens, the counter resets and it goes on. Okay. The difference between these two is the all records and data extension and all records is that in the third option, only the records are deleted. In the second option, even the data extension itself will get deleted, the whole data structure. So sometimes you may want to keep the data extension structure as is because you will be reusing it for multiple campaigns, and you want to bring in the same, you want to bring in the similar data, but only the records need to be wiped out. Then you will use all records. But let's say you're using a data extension, it's a one-time thing, you're done with it. You want to delete it after you're done. Use the all records and data extensions. Okay. Okay, and then there's this option where you can actually specify for all records and data extensions. You can even specify a particular date. Like let's say I want all the records to be deleted as of mid-October. So I can say October 15, 2020. Go ahead and delete everything. So I can give a fixed date as well. Okay. Okay. So before we go into attribute groups, let me show you the data extensions. So under Contact Builder, you have this tab here called Data Extensions. If I click on Create, so this is the option that you will see, to go ahead and create a data extension. And this is a standard data extension. Okay, and you can see this is Create from New. You can create from existing. If I click on Create from existing, it will ask me okay, what data extension do you want to mirror? Like if I click on in any of these, it will tell me, okay, so if I want to create it off of customer DE, I can go ahead and then create off of that, right? If it's a template, there's predefined templates, like I was telling you earlier, right? There's something called send logs. Sometimes it's a triggered send data extension. So they have predefined fields within them, right? That you have to use, and you will not be able to delete those attributes. They will be defined and set, and you can add additional attributes if needed. Okay. So in our case, we're just going to create a sample data extension. So. And if that name is already used, it will actually give you an error. So all the data extension names should be unique. And here is where you actually say if it's sendable or non-sendable. So if I'm going to be storing customer information, like contact information, and I'm planning to use this for sending out communications, I will mark this as sendable. Okay. And the next tab will actually show you the retention policy. So if I turn it on, like I said earlier, if you use individual records, you can only specify the days, weeks, months, or years. You cannot do hours. Okay, so only these 4 options. I can specify the number of days here if I want to. And if I go to all records or all records and data extensions, it gives me these additional options, like I said. So if I say any time in the next 10 days, I want to delete all the records after 10 days, but if I get a fresh import of data in between, it will reset the counter. Okay, or if I want to say okay, go ahead and delete everything as of October. Okay, October 1st, I can do that as well. Okay, so if I said that, and then if I go into the next tab here, this is where I specify all the attributes. So if I type in customer ID, customer ID, I can make it as a primary key, and you'll see it's defaulted to the required, the length I can specify. If I specify email, I can change that to email address and so on. And as you can see here at the bottom, it will show you the send relationship. Because I selected this as a sendable data extension, you have to specify this. So by default, it will take the first field. But then if you think there's another, like maybe the primary key is order, and you want to send to a contact ID, which you have actually specified later down, you can actually come and select that here. Okay. In this particular case, it's customer ID, and it will relate to the subscriber key. Okay. I won't go create this. I will have another one that I can open and show you guys. So this is a sample sendable data extension that I created. So if I go in, so as an admin, if I want, or as a user, I can go in and I can see this data extension. Keep in mind that data extensions you can view from 2 places. One is in Email Studio and one is in Contact Builder. Now, Email Studio, if you create a data extension, you can see it in Contact Builder and vice versa. But Contact Builder has more power and more flexibility for you to be able to manage. For example, if I want to edit the records, as long as I have a primary key, I can do that in Contact Builder, but not in Email Studio, right? So if I click here, if I click on Edit Record, you will see I can go ahead and edit like a list view, right? It's very, very flexible. And if I want to import and export, I can do that as well. Okay, if I want to clear all the records, I can clear. If I want to add a specific one record, one at a time manually, I can do that as well. So it's very, very flexible to manage your data in a data extension from the Contact Builder. Okay. Now on the properties tab, you will see that the data retention is there. So you can for this particular data extension, I didn't turn on the the retention. But if I want to like go back, let's say you forgot to set it up for a data extension when you created it, you can go and set it as long as the number of records in the data extensions is less than 100 million. Once it's 100 million or more, you cannot set the data retention policy. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if I want, I can go ahead and set that. This is an additional set of permissions as an admin that you need to know. Okay, so allow users to delete this data extension, or allow them to like modify existing attributes or additional attributes. Like over here, you see these attributes that we created. If you're giving them access to it, they can go ahead and add additional attributes like create attribute, or they can modify the existing attributes, right? So if you don't want your users to like have permissions for these, you can actually take this out. Okay. Okay, and then if you want to change it to a sendable or non-sendable, you can add this option here as well. And this one is like defaulted to sendable. That's why like it's checked. Okay. All right, so that's about it on data extensions. Let me go back to our slide. Okay, so the next one that we have is on attribute groups. Okay, so all right. Yeah, attribute groups is in Contact Builder. The first time I saw this was like I was quite freaked out, like because it's this diagram and it's got a lot of data points in there. But don't worry, it's quite simple once you get to know it. Okay, it's nothing but a logical grouping of your data and how they relate to each other and the contact model. As you can see, the contact is the center of this model, and everything else connects to the contact. So you can define a group, add one or more data extensions in a group, and show how they relate to the contact. Okay, and then we can use this in other tools, the relationship that you're going to build, like how data extensions relate to the contact and with each other. You will be able to use that in other tools and other channels, except for Email Studio. Okay, so I'll come to that later as well. Except for Email Studio, you will be able to use attribute groups, all the linkages, and I'll show you that in a journey example later as well. Okay. So let's say, let me give you an example. Okay, I have four data extensions. Okay, one is about your customer. Okay, I have like the customer demographic information. Okay, and it's a sendable data extension. Okay, and I will be able to send the email to them. And I have like order history about that particular that customer, like the orders that he has placed on multiple dates. Like he can have one or more orders, right? And then I can have order details, which means each order, like if it has multiple products on that order, like I will have those records here as well. So for every order ID, I might have one or more records in these order details. I also have a product catalog, which like, okay, for each of the products that we sell, and they may or may not be on any of these orders, so I can have a separate product catalog data extension as well, right? Now these are all related. Now how do I like, so let's say I have a scenario that in a journey, I want to be able to like, identify a customer who actually bought a specific product from me in the last 30 days. Okay, so if I'm actually using just this DE, it's not easy to do it, right? Sometimes you'll think, okay, why don't we actually send all this information into like, combine all that into one single DE? Performance based and for maintenance perspective, that's not recommended, right? So it's always better that you actually split it across multiple data extensions. So if you do that, like normalize it, and then you can actually link it. That linkage happens in attribute groups. And you can also like link this back to the contact model. You have to say like, okay, this customer DE, how does it link back to the customer, right? We've shown that on the subscriber key it's linked, but that's only used for the emails, email studio, right? But for the attribute, for you to use in the attribute groups, like unless and until you actually link it to the contact model, you will not be able to use and know that this customer ID is the unique contact key that you're going to be using for the other channels. Okay. So let me go back to our marketing cloud here. So this is the attribute groups. When you open Contact Builder, it will open up the Data Designer tab, and it's a very nice, representation of all the various groupings. It's nothing but it's just a group. Okay, it's a name that you give for a group, and there's one or more data extensions that you can add to it and then connect. And I will show you here in customer orders. and you will get this warning message depending on if it's turned on or not. Like that's why I said like sometimes first time when you look at it, you will freak out, like you'll say, oh my God, I shouldn't be touching this, right? It's there for a reason, because let's say you've already set up data and it's being used in journeys. Ideally, you shouldn't be fiddling with it. But if you really know that, okay, yeah, I know I need to make changes on this, yeah, you can go ahead and make changes to it, okay? So if I go into this customer orders, I already linked these 4 data extensions here. So as you can see, this is the contact model, the center contact, right? So what I'm telling is like I want to link the customer DE to the contact. And what I tell through that linkage is the contact key in the contact model is related to the customer key, the customer ID here. Okay, so this is the field that I'm telling, and that's how the all the other tools other than Email Studio knows that customer ID is the one that you need to use to uniquely identify the customer in this particular data extension. And it's a one-to-one relationship, meaning in this customer DE, I will only have this customer one time. Like so, every contact key here will have a unique record in the customer DE. Okay. Similarly, from customer to the order history, I have a relationship here. When I link it, I'll be able to like say the customer ID on this table is equal to the customer ID on this table, but it's a one-to-many relationship. Okay, so you can choose like, one or many on both sides. So depending on how it is, like, for this particular case, every customer, a unique customer in the customer DE may have one or more records. He might have placed, multiple orders on different dates, right? So I can have multiple records in the order history table. So you can specify that as the many relationship. It's a one-to-many. There's another example here. If I go to this side, it's the product catalog. You'll see the product catalog, it has a unique product ID, right? You won't have more than one product ID. But in the order details, you may have more than the same product ID repeated multiple times depending on which order they're under. Right? So if I look at this one, it's a many-to-one relationship. Okay, so you can specify how that relationship and the cardinality is, through attribute groups. So if I want to link multiple data extensions to the contact model. So in this particular case, you see I have another data extension called loyalty customer that I added to this particular contact model. I'm actually tracking all of this under the customer orders. If I wanted, I can create a totally new attribute group and I can start putting the customer DE in there, right? So if I want, let's say I have another data extension that I want to link to this one, I can click here and then I can say link the data extension. So it will go ahead and then I can, let's say, trainings under Bootcamp. So if I want to link to one of the sample sendable DE or something like that, I can actually link it. Okay, but I'm not going to do that because it will mess up my data. But just giving you an information. So if I wanted to map it like this, I will say I will choose the fields that you need to map it on, and then I have to specify the cardinality, 1 to 1 or 1 to many, whatever it is. In this case, if it's like 1 to 1, I can do that as well. Now, keep in mind, the ones that you're linking to this data extension should be relational to this data. If you're thinking like, it's a contact information and it has to be related to the contact, don't link it to, another contact data extension, right? You have to link it directly to the contact key. And how you do that here is like you come here and you can actually click on link. Okay, and then this is the contact model, the contact key that you see here, and you can actually go ahead and specify which data extension. So in this particular case, let's say I have the sample data extension, the sample SendDE that I had. I can actually link that here in a second. Okay, I can say this and done, save. So it will give you a warning because it says like, you're changing the data model and make sure like, it doesn't affect your other processes, etc. So I click on done. It will take some time and then it will actually show up the additional DE being linked as well. Okay. So that's why I said it's pretty simple. So you will see here the sample, the sendable DE is also now linked to this contact. The way you actually do it is like if you want certain data extensions are grouped together because of certain business use case, or you're using it for like e-commerce or customer order, depending on your use case, you can group it. So it's up to you to decide how you want to label your groups and add the data in there. Now, on the right side, you will see the data, the different attribute groups that you created. And this is where like the customer orders that we created, right? If I click on that, you should be able to see all the information. It's probably because I just added the data. That's why it's not refreshing. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, so under customer orders, when I went into it, now you see the three data extensions that are linked at the root level to the contact model, right? You have the customer DE, I have the loyalty customer DE, I have the sample sendable DE, which I just linked right now. But the customer DE is the one that has like multiple stuff, like, that I can drill down into, right? So if I click on customer DE, I can see that, I can further go down into order history, or I can use the customer DE fields here, right? If I want to go specifically to the order history DE fields, I can click on that and I can see that, and then I can again drill down into the additional ones that are linked. So that's the flexibility of like having those linkages done, and you'll be able to see this data in other applications like journeys. Like if I go into a journey. So for those of you who are new to Marketing Cloud, can you all hear me? Okay. By the way.
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
Oh, okay, okay. I just saw a comment there. Did cannot hear. Sorry. All right. Okay. So a journey is like a application that you have within Marketing Cloud, which actually helps you do do one-to-one engagement with the contact. Okay. So an example would be like let's say somebody likely comes and registers with your bank. Okay. It's a new customer, so you want to like send them a series of emails. Like first time it'll be a welcome email. Maybe after a week or so, you want to send them specific offers on your new products, etc. And then maybe whenever you have a campaign next month, you want to like add that to that and send it out to them as well. So you can do all that through a journey. You can take them through a journey path. Okay, so that's what Journey Builder is for, and hopefully we'll have a session on that later in this bootcamp. Okay. So in this particular case, there is I have a journey here, and there is something called decision split. Decision split is a journey. There's a activity here where I can take a decision. I have to make a decision based on some attribute. Okay, and then based on how that attribute utilizes. Oh, great. Sorry. Okay, and based on like how this one evaluates, I can send it across to different paths. In this particular case, I've actually like evaluated it across 3 different paths. Okay, I want to know like what is the customer if he has placed an order with us in the last 30 days, if he's placed an order with us in the last 30 to 60 days, or if it's older than 60 days. Depending upon which path it evaluates to, I want to send them different emails. Okay, so if I want to do that, like it's quite easy. Like in the decision split, I will add these different paths, and then when I click on edit here, so this is where you see that contact data, right? And you will see here 2 different things. One is called journey data, and one is called contact data. Journey data, again, I think like in a later session you'll come across this, but I will just give you an idea right now. Whenever a contact is like entered, being like pushed into a journey, it takes a snapshot of that particular customer's data extension. Okay, so it's kind of a snapshot. It's static throughout the journey. It doesn't change. For instance, so like let's say I have the contact. Let's say I have a tier, like a loyalty tier, right? When I enter the journey, maybe a journey can actually last a while. Maybe it can be a month. It can be more than a month. Okay, so when I enter the journey, let's say my tier was silver. When I go through the journey, I made some purchases and stuff like that, and then I got promoted to gold. Okay, the journey data will still show my tier as silver throughout, like even after I've gotten it to gold, right? But the contact data is the live data that you have in your data extension. And if I go and check the same data extension and the field in the contact data, it will show me it as gold after I've been updated. Okay, so keep in mind, anytime you want to use data related to a contact through the journey and you want the latest data, always use the contact data. So when you click on contact data, you will see the exact same structure that you saw in that attribute groups, right? And this is why it's very important that you have to link your data extensions to that contact model so that you can use them here in the journeys. Okay, so as you can see here, we added the sample sendable DE. That's why it's showing up here, but I'm not going to use any of those fields. But under order history, if I wanted to use the order date, I can bring that in and then say, okay, I want it after today minus 30 days. Okay, so I can add the criteria like this. Now remember, the email is being sent to the customer DE, right? But the relationship is there, so you can actually do filtering based on those relational data extensions. 30 to 60 days, I can have additional conditions done. So if I wanted to make using product data, if I wanted to say if the product was a particular ID, right? So if I go to the order details and I said and product ID equals some value, I can even specify that. Okay, so it's very, very flexible for you to be using that information. Okay. So that's how you use the contact data that you configured in the attribute groups in other tools like journeys. Okay. So let me cancel out of this, go back to our presentation. Okay, that's for you to refer to. Just kept the screenshots in there so you can look at it later. And like I was mentioning, the whatever you actually configured right now, the attribute group linking, you will not be able to see that in Email Studio. So Email Studio is kind of like a standalone, application that you see in Marketing Cloud. You'll be able to create data extensions, and you can see it across Contact Builder and vice versa. But data relationship, there is a feature called data relationship in Email Studio. So you can go and link these same data extensions there, and then you can use it for filters or queries, right? And if you link the data extensions in Email Studio, that linkage will not reflect in Contact Builder, okay? And whatever you link in attribute groups will not reflect in Email Studio data relationship as well. So keep in mind, depending on where you're actually using and where you intend to use the linkages, you have to go and set it up there, okay? All right, let's move into contact deletion. So in Contact Builder, you can initiate contact deletion request. First, you need to set the permission to enable contact delete for the account, and you also need to update the suppression period setting. By default, it's 14 days, but you can set it to any value from 0 to 30 days. Okay, I'll show you this shortly, where you can do this. And the process is actually a 3-step process. Okay, you have to first request a contact deletion request, and then that particular contact or the set of contacts that you're asking for, they will be actually put in a suppression period ranging from 0 to 30 days. What it means is it will be hidden, and you will not be able to send any communication to that particular contact. Okay, and then you cannot re-import the contact during that suppression period as well. Meaning, let's say that contact that you just deleted because they've requested that you delete the data, they came back and said, okay, re-import me back into Marketing Cloud. You will not be able to do that till the suppression period ends. So if you want to delete, the contacts immediately, the recommendation is to set the suppression period to 0. Okay. And then finally, once it hits the suppression period, it will actually be deleted completely from the data extensions or your Marketing Cloud, wherever the data is actually, right? Now, keep in mind, it only looks at the data in sendable data extensions and populations, and any of the lists that you have, email studio list or mobile list. Okay, it will not go search your non-sendable data extensions. If you have contact information there, it won't delete it. Now, sometimes there's tracking data. There's SendLog has a tracking, okay, these people were sent emails on such and such date. What it does is in the info is not completely deleted. It anonymizes it. It actually puts deleted at exacttarget.com, like that. But that record will still show that that somebody was sent an email, so that information on the aggregate tracking data is not deleted. Okay. But the most important thing is this is actually done because of compliance rules like GDPR or CCPA or some of the compliance rules where they say you should not be storing personal information once the person is opted out, or they're saying okay, you shouldn't be storing it, and they've requested you to delete their information. So you should be very, very careful when you initiate the request. You need to make additional manual searches and ensure you go and check any sources that you think may have your contact data. Don't just rely on the request that you raised. You can delete it in 2 ways. You can either do it through the REST API programmatically and the contact builder, which I will show you shortly through contact builder. Now, if it's a small set, if you want maybe manually delete 4 or 5 contacts, you can do it in Contact Builder. But if it's like huge, always go with the REST API. It's very, very flexible. You can batch it up, and then you can do up to 1 million records per request. Okay. And you cannot reverse this. Like once you have raised it for deletion, you cannot like undo it. Okay, so be very careful when you raise that. It's always recommended you take a backup, and then you can actually have the data in a file. So in case you want to bring it back in, then you can use that. And then the other information that you need to know is like the deletion process is always prioritized very, very low. So let's say like you raise a request, it will be put into the queue. Marketing Cloud will actually process all the other stuff before it comes to the deletion request. Let's say you have an email send in progress. Okay, so it will actually do the email send. Let's say you have automation, an automation workflow is going on. Like it'll process that, any segmentation, whatever is going on, it will actually do all those first. Only when the resource is freed up and there's nothing else to do, that's when it actually comes and does the contact deletion, right? So it might take some time if you have a lot of contact deletion requests that's queued up. Okay, and then this is where you can see the contact deletion progress. There's a tab called Contacts Analytics, and you need to know these metrics, like what these actually say. The total means like the sum of all the contact delete requests that were initiated during this time period. So if I've initiated like multiple requests during the last week is like last 7 days, day is like last 24 days, and month is the last 30 days, right? So depending on the time period that I chose, like it will show you how many were actually requested during that time period, right? Complete is like the ones that are actually raised and completed during that period. Processing is that any that's actually still going on, and invalid if you have come across any errors that were raised when you face some errors when you're trying to delete it. Okay, so you can see those metrics here. Okay, so let me go back here and show you where that is at. So under Contact Builder, this is the Contacts Configuration tab, and at the bottom here, you'll see Contact Delete. You have to set that as an admin, you have to set it to on, and here is where you can actually specify the suppression period. So if you want like your contacts to be deleted immediately, you would set it to 0. By default, it's always set at 14, and the maximum value that you can wait is 30. Okay. And the Contacts Analytics tab, like I mentioned earlier, this is where you can actually see all the different the deletion requests that have been raised. If I click on this, you'll be able to go and see how the details about that particular deletion request. Okay, it won't show you the actual contact. It will only show you the number, the count, and when it was raised. Okay. Now let me go and show you where you can actually delete as well. Okay, so under on all contacts, if I want to delete a contact from here, I can select a contact, and then I can come here and say delete selected contacts. So it will immediately tell me, it'll remove all the information from the channels. Are you sure you want to do it? You cannot undo this action. So what it means is as soon as I say, it will go with the suppression period, and then after the suppression period is done, it will actually delete it from Marketing Cloud. Okay. Now, if I want to see the pending deletions, if I have something that's pending, so right now, this is the one that you saw in the analytics. This is the pending request that I have. I have actually 2 contacts that I've actually asked to be deleted. And right now it's in the suppression period. I raised it on August 31st, and it's still within that 14-day period. That's why it's just suppressed. And if I click on this, you will see it's still in suppression period. Once it hits 9/14, it will actually get deleted, and it will remove everything from here. So you can see that as well. Okay. Let me close out of here. Okay, so I think that's all I had on contact deletion. Going back to, okay, our last topic for the day, profile and preference centers. Okay, so this one is primarily related to your email studio. You have profile and preference attributes that we can create for subscribers. Okay, profile attributes, as the name suggests, it's mostly demographic information or profile information about the subscriber. And preference attributes are mostly Boolean options that you can say based on their preferences if you want to track that information, right? And there's 2 links that you can have, and then you can put in your emails. One is like the profile center, which you actually need to put in your emails. Marketing Cloud mandates that you do it as part of CAN-SPAM. Clicking on this, you can actually go and look at your profile information. So the profile attributes that you actually created,
you'll be able to see those. Anything that is not hidden, you'll be able to see and update those. Okay, and then this is the profile attributes, and this is the preference attributes, the ones that we saw in the previous page, right? So I have the profile attributes and I have preference attributes that I set up in email. I'll be able to see those over here as long as they're not hidden. Okay. If you see in this particular here, you will see there is a variable, an attribute that I created here. This is actually set up as hidden, which is why I don't see it on my personal information here, on the profile information here. Okay. And at the bottom of the profile center, you will see the unsubscribe from all option as well. So it's important for you to know, like, when you send out emails, most of the time when you get emails from marketing, you'll probably see at the bottom of the email, you will see the address, and you will see an unsubscribe link, right? When you click on that, you can unsubscribe. It's a one-click unsubscribe. Sometimes you will have the profile center link where you can actually go to the particular profile, you can make updates. And if you say, yeah, I don't want to get any more communications from this particular account, I can go ahead and click it here and then say update. So I will be unsubscribed from all email communications. Okay. Now keep in mind, this link that actually goes out from the email, it's specific to each subscriber. Right. So when you get an email, the unsubscribe link at the bottom or the profile center link at the bottom is specific for you. It actually has that information within that, right? Embedded. So if you forward that email to somebody and they click on the profile center, they have access to your information and they can edit or update it. Okay. Or they can even unsubscribe. So always use the feature called forward to a friend, which actually changes it. Otherwise, if you just forward the email blindly to somebody, they can actually click on those and I can change your information. And try not to include any personal information that shouldn't be actually shown out. If you're storing any sensitive information, please make sure you do not show that on your profile center. Subscription center, so it's also called a preference center. This is where you actually say, okay, what options you would like to get opted into. Like, let's say I have marketing communications that I sent out, like a magazine or a newsletter. I have weekly promotions that I do. And if I want to if I've opted in already, it will show you check boxes for each of the options that I've already opted in. And if I come back and say, well, I'm not interested in the magazine or the newsletter anymore, I can uncheck those. But the weekly promotions I still want, so I can keep that and update it. So I will be unsubscribed from those list communications, but the weekly promotions I will be kept on, so that anytime any email is sent to the weekly promotions, I will get it, right? And here also you can actually go ahead and choose, like, if I don't want to receive any communications, even if I am actually opted into any of these lists, if I click on the global one, I will not get any communication from Marketing Cloud for this account, okay? One thing that you need to know, there is something called multi-org. So when we cover Marketing Cloud Connect, hopefully, it's when you have Sales Cloud or Service Cloud or any CRM, one of the Salesforce CRMs, when it's actually connected to Marketing Cloud using Marketing Cloud Connect, there's different ways that you can connect it. The simple one is called single org. That's just one Sales Cloud or Service Cloud instance connecting to the Enterprise 2.0 account that you have in Marketing Cloud, right? So it's just a one-to-one. That's a single org. Sometimes you may have you have multiple business units and you have multiple Salesforce instances connecting to your business units, okay? So that's a multi-org situation. So always that you need to know, in that particular case, these, okay, by the way, these two, the profile center and the subscription center, these are inbuilt within Marketing Cloud. You don't have to go and create this. This is the inbuilt one that you have within Email Studio. So you cannot use this when you have a multi-org implementation. Okay, you have to use a custom preference center or a custom profile center, and you can use that you can create your own web page and then you can provide that URL in emails, or you can use a landing page using Web Studio. You can go ahead and create that and then you can provide that information as well. But keep that in mind. It's very important as an admin. You need to know that for multi-org implementations, you cannot use the standard profile and preference center. You have to use a custom one. Okay. Let me quickly show you where that is. So if I go into profile management here in Email Studio, so these are where you can actually create your attributes. So these are the ones that I mentioned, and here, this is the one that I told you is hidden, right? If I want to create an additional profile attribute, I can just go ahead and then add that here, and it will get added to my page. If I say add phone, I can make it either required either hidden, read-only, those values. Under the data, I can specify the data type. It's either text, numeric, or a date field. Okay, and then I can set the minimum length and the maximum length. And if I want to restrict the values, I can do that as well. So if I want it to be restricted as a pick list value, I can actually specify that here. Okay, so for instance, gender. Okay, I don't want people to specify any other value other than male or female. So I actually added this restriction here. And when I go to update this particular data on a profile, it will actually show as a drop down. Either male or female. It won't allow me to enter any other information. So that's how you can actually use, you can specify pick list type, if you want to do set up a field that way. Okay. Preference management, like you saw, this is all Boolean. So I just have two options here. I can go ahead and create additional ones if I want to. And like I said, it will always be like the Boolean value. So it's either true or false, and the default value yes or no. That's it. Okay. If I go to the profile center, so let me show you the page in a minute. There you go. So this is the profile center page, what it looks like. As you can see, these are the different profiles that we saw, and the hidden field is no longer there. And you see, this is the drop down. The others are like, I can click and you can even have read only. Let's say you want to have some information that you want to show as read only, you can do that as well. Okay. I can change my preferences here, but then the subscription center is where you actually opt in to different lists and communications that you have. Okay, and by default, it will show you the ones that you've actually opted into, and then you can make changes to it, or you can fully unsubscribe from any email communications that you will have from this account. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the topics that we wanted to cover. Before I finish, I have a couple of tips that I want you guys to take a look at. So I know, this was a very high level of the subscriber and the data management specific to the contact model. It will be actually very useful for you to go back and check some of the details about data extensions and how it's actually done in the data model within Email Studio. It will give you more information. We cannot cover everything in this 45 to one hour sessions, right? So I already have these in YouTube, so I put the links in here. So this, when we did the Email Studio Bootcamp, we actually had a couple of sessions, so you can refer to those when you get some time. You will get some more idea of how the data model works from as far as subscriber, and how now it's different from a contact model. Okay, so there you will see the model called data model called subscriber list, which is different from data extensions, and it's only specific to email. And then we've also covered how data extensions are used for email marketing. Okay. Oh, sorry. And oops, yeah. I've also covered the Trailhead modules. So some of these modules that will actually help the topics that we covered today. So you can refer to those. Last but not the least, for this exam as a whole, not just for this particular topic, you're actually you have to look at this from an admin perspective, right? So there's consultant, there's developer, and there's admin. So as an admin, when you read through the topics, when you look at Trailhead, when you look at the blog topics, when you look at the Salesforce documentation, put on your admin hat. If you were an admin, what are the things that you would actually look at? You would actually be interested in knowing what the product functions are, the capabilities and the limits, right? How do I enable a particular feature, or how do I disable it? Okay, what are the errors or issues that can come? Most of the time, that's what you actually spend time on. People would be coming to you with complaints like, hey, this is not working. Can you fix it? You're the admin, right? So you need to know what are the different errors that can occur and how do I fix it? Okay, and then definitely system performance and maintenance. So these are some of the areas that as an admin that you need to know. So whenever you read a topic, make sure you actually look at those topics in this view. And try to frame questions if I'm an admin and I'm looking at contact deletion, okay, what are the possible errors that can happen? Okay, or if I'm looking at creating a data extension, like I showed you earlier, there's a data extension error messages. Somebody comes and tells you hey, by the way, I cannot modify the data extension attributes. So remember, we saw that there's an option for you to go and set the permission for that, right? So you need to know okay, what are the various issues that can happen, and then how can you resolve it? How can I enable a particular feature? Where do I go to enable that feature, right? So always keep this in mind as you go through this bootcamp and the different topics that you read through. Okay. All right, that's all we had for today. Over back to you guys.
That was incredible, and thanks, Shibu, for all the insights and the detailed demo.
Sure.
I would like to share with you today what I'm grateful for. One thing I love being a Salesforce customer is that Salesforce not only provides great products and tools, but also equips everyone in various roles with a wealth of information and resources. One among them is the SFMC Lookup Answers. It is an 1 hour long Q&A session focused on various features and functionalities of Marketing Cloud, featuring MVPs and marketing champions. Whether you're getting started with the Marketing Cloud or have spent numerous hours trying to crack something and looking for some expert help, you can get all your questions answered here. Some of the sessions that are conducted earlier were AMScript best practices, APIs, roles and permissions, reply mail management, server-side JavaScript, tracking dynamic content, Marketing Cloud Connect, and many more. And the technical marketers meeting is a free to attend and also a great opportunity to discover the latest or key features directly from the Salesforce technical experts. Some of the sessions that are conducted earlier were Journey Builder custom activities, deliverability, distributed marketing, interactive email forms, Journey Builder path optimizer, SMS deep dive, Social Studio deep dive, content block SDK, and many more. We are glad to have Gilda organize these sessions for us. Please be sure to follow Gilda to get regular updates about those sessions. Once again, a quick reminder that the recording to this session will be emailed out 24 hours after each session. Be sure to follow the resources channel on the Slack group as well to get the updates. With that, we'll now jump on to the Q&A session. Just one more note. Here's the list of all upcoming sessions. We are done with the day 3 and day 4. We have Jackie going over some of the setup features. And the next sessions, they happen every Tuesday and Thursday. It will be Wednesday and Friday for others on the other side of the world. That will jump on to the Q&A session. Naji, you can take it over.
Great job today. You did an amazing job, Shibu. You answered so many questions, and there were a ton of questions, but I decided to just pick my top 10 that were mostly related to the exam. And here we go. So
Okay.
First question is, contact key and subscriber key, do they always have to be the same?
I would say yes, because see, the contact keys, all right, take it in the context of a email marketer or for email marketing, right? So when a contact comes that you're subscribing to an email channel, the unique identifier for that subscriber is the subscriber key. Okay, so if you're using it that particular contact only for email marketing, you don't have any other channels in your marketing, then that's it. You just have the subscriber key as the unique identifier. The moment like you have additional channels, like let's say this particular person that you have as a contact or a subscriber, he wants to opt into an SMS tomorrow. Like you sent a promotion email and said like, hey, if you opt into SMS communication, we give you a 10% coupon, right? So now you need to have that person opt in. When he opts in for mobile communication, you don't want him to create a separate contact ID for him. You will not be able to relate the two, right? So in which case you will use the same subscriber key ID as a contact key for him and in the mobile studio as well, right? So it's the same value. Like, you know, so what I said earlier is it's the same contact identifier that you'd use across all the channels. You have to manually specify that. In case like you have like the same contact with different contact keys, it's recommended that you go and try to merge them in. And that's why it's a recommended best practice before you start in Marketing Cloud. You need to like, you know, have a good idea of like, okay, what is going to be your contact key? What's the unique identifier that we will be specifying for all our contacts irrespective of channel? And that's what you will have to follow across all the channels. I hope that answers.
That was a great answer. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Using data retention only deletes data from that data extension, but does not delete records from all subs or contacts, correct?
Correct. So it will actually delete. Actually, wait. Let me tell you. The data is always in data extension. right? It's not in any other area. So it will only delete the data from the data extension, not from any other list. But then in all contacts, if it is still under the subscriber list or any of the other mobile lists, it will still be there. But if it's only in the data extension, then it will actually be deleted from both the all contacts list as well as the data extensions as well. And
Thank you.
if there's linkages to it, again, only the data that is actually linked, sorry, the primary data extension, that is the one that actually gets deleted. The data from the linked data extension doesn't get deleted. So I know we're used to people who use work in SQL, we say okay, if you delete the master table, you want to delete all the child tables. No, that doesn't work that way.
Great, thank you very much. When the data is deleted after the retention policy timing, do they move to another location?
No, it just gets deleted from Marketing Cloud.
Great, love that answer. What is the relation of data extensions and profile centers from a contact perspective?
Rephrase that question once again. Say that again, just one more time.
Sure. So just to repeat the question, what is the relation of data extensions and profile centers?
Okay, there is no relation for data extensions and profile centers. Okay, if it's a custom, the one that I showed you earlier is the standard one. It only looks at the profile attributes that is actually built into Email Studio, right?
Correct.
If you're building a custom profile center, then you need data extensions, because you need to be able to store this profile information or any other information that you want to show on your preferences or profile pages. So that's when you would use a data extension, and then you can actually programmatically through AMP script or through API, you can pull that information into your landing page or your web pages, and then update the data extensions when people or subscribers actually enter the information. So that's the only time that you will actually use data extensions. Otherwise, for your standard ones, there's no data extensions in the Email Studio for the standard profile or preference centers.
Thank you. What is the difference between retention policy and contact delete? Will both delete or erase all the contact from Salesforce Marketing Cloud?
Good question. So retention policy, you have to use both of these, in tandem. One, the retention policy is specifically for the data extension as such. It's a best practice that whenever you create a data extension, always take into account, like I said, are you going to be using this data for a long time? Like I said, don't keep all unwanted data in Marketing Cloud, right? So as long as you think this data is not going to be useful anymore, make sure that data gets deleted. So for that, you can use the retention policy. So you don't have to keep a record. Okay, by the way, put it on your calendar saying, okay, in October, remind me to come back and delete this particular data extension because I don't need it. You'll forget. So for an admin, this is the best way to as you create the data extensions, you already know okay, I need to get rid of this data at some point in time. So it's kind of a best practice. Contact deletion is a separate request, because of compliance or some reason, you need to go and delete contact data, right? And it's going to search all the sendable data extensions. So and it's a huge overhead. So if you have a bunch of data extensions, it's going to take a while. So if you already have unwanted data extensions that are deleted because of the retention policies, it makes life easier for you. So you would use both of them, and they complement each other for you to take care of your data.
Wonderful answer. I'm going to ask you 3 more and we'll be done for the night. My next question to you is: profile center attributes can only be added at the parent business level, business unit level. Is this correct?
I believe so. Yes, correct.
Great, great. The next question I have for you is: where can one find contact key setup? Where can I find the contact key setup in existing Marketing Cloud?
So it depends on the first channel that you actually add that contact into, right? So let's say you added the contact in through email. So when you're putting that in, you're adding it to the all subscribers list, it'll be the subscriber key. So as soon as you put that in, that becomes the contact key that you can use for the other channels later. If it's a mobile subscriber, that's the first channel that you're getting in or importing in, then you can specify the contact key as the for that particular subscriber. And then later on, if he gets added to the email channel, you will use the same value as the subscriber key. So it depends on what is the entry point for that particular contact into Marketing Cloud, and which channel does he come in. If it's coming through a API, then in the API you will be able to specify the contact key as well. It's a mandatory field.
Great. And our last question of the night is there a default profile or preference center for mobile or SMS?
Not that I know of. I did try to search and see, like, how do you see and set profiles? I think you probably have to have a custom, because I haven't worked too much on mobile. I tried to see, I didn't find a standard one. The only one that I could find was for the email. I can check and see, like, if I find something after this, like, I can get back on Slack.
Oh, great. Wonderful. And you are pretty active on the Slack channel. So if people have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the Slack channel. This is a great way for many of the teachers, not just Shibu, but many of our other wonderful contributors to connect with you and answer any questions that you may feel like were not answered tonight. So, so great job with answering those questions. So just a real quick reminder that if you are looking for the slides to tonight's presentation, you will find them in the resources channel of our Slack channel. If you are looking for the suggested task, as I don't like to call them homework, if you're looking for suggested tasks for how to build your knowledge in what Shibu just spoke about tonight, this will be found in the homework Slack channel. I have plenty of people asking this question, so I just kind of want to send that reminder again that please go to the resource Slack channel if you're looking for resources, any type of slides, presentations, or any of the videos if you may have missed a day or two. Please go to the resource channel and go to the homework channel of the Slack channel if you're looking for suggested tasks and homework assignments. Please go to those those channels. If you have more questions that you feel were not answered, please go to the Slack channel again, as all of our contributors are in that, and they're more than happy to answer your questions. So what we're going to do now that you've been graciously answering those questions for us, we're going to move on to the next part, and we're going to talk about suggested tasks. So tonight's suggested task will be in the, you guessed it, homework channel of our Slack channel tonight. If you do not have the Slack channel link, I have already posted it in our chat. I will post it again one more time before the session is over with. I will post it there, as well as, I believe that is all we had to do was talk about homework. I don't believe there's anything else to discuss. So I think we are good. Just double checking. Yep, that's it. So thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you guys for listening. And Shibu, most of all, thank you for giving everyone such a wonderful overview of subscriber data management. Thank you so much.
Glad to. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us. See you in the next session.
Have a good night. See you guys Thursday. Bye.